The world had gone quiet. Not the kind of quiet that comes after a storm, when birds start singing again and the air feels cleansed, but the kind of silence that hums inside your bones. Too heavy, too still. Amelia sat by the hospital window, watching rain smear across the glass in long, uneven trails. Each droplet distorted the city lights below, turning them into ripples of gold and blue. She couldn't remember the last time she had seen the city from this high up, or the last time she had felt something other than this hollow ache in her chest. Her left hand was wrapped in bandages. The right, trembling slightly, clutched a small silver locket. Inside it, a photo, faded, water-damaged, of two smiling faces, hers and his. Ethan's grin was a little crooked, the kind that made people trust him instantly. Hers was carefree, a version of herself that no longer existed. She hadn't opened the locket in months, not since the night everything had ended. Not since the crash. It had been raining that night, too. The road twisting along the coastline, the radio humming softly, Ethan's voice breaking into laughter as she sang off-key. Then, a flash of headlights, a horn, a scream, and the world folded in on itself. When she woke up, 3 weeks had passed. Ethan was gone. They told her she was lucky to be alive. She didn't feel lucky. The hospital became her world. White walls, mechanical beeping, the scent of antiseptic that clung to everything. Her parents visited every day, trying to hide their exhaustion behind forced smiles. Friends came less often, and when they did, she could see it, the fear in their eyes, the pity. They talked around the subject, never saying his name, as if avoiding the word Ethan could make the hole in her heart less real. But grief wasn't something you could silence. It seeped into her dreams, her thoughts, her every breath. She'd wake at 3 a.m. to the echo of his laughter in her mind, to the ghost of his hand brushing hers. And then came the guilt, sharp and unforgiving. She should have stopped him from driving that night. She should have noticed the storm rolling in. She should have done 1,000 things differently. Months passed. Seasons shifted outside her window. The rain turned to snow, and still, she stayed, a ghost haunting her own life, until one morning. The doctor said something that shattered the quiet routine she had built around her grief. "Amelia," Dr. Carter began gently, setting down her chart. "There's someone here to see you." She frowned. "Who?" "He says he knew Ethan. He wanted to speak with you, said it was important." Her pulse quickened. She hadn't heard Ethan's name spoken aloud in weeks. "What's his name?" The doctor hesitated. "Liam Hayes." The name meant nothing to her. But curiosity flickered, faint, fragile, somewhere deep inside the fog. When Liam walked in, he carried the air of someone who had been waiting for this moment far too long. His coat was soaked from the rain, hair slightly disheveled, eyes dark with something unreadable. He looked to be around Ethan's age, late 20s, but the exhaustion in his face made him seem older. "Amelia," he said softly, as if afraid the sound might break her. She nodded. "You knew Ethan?" He smiled faintly, a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "We were friends. I worked with him. I was there that night." Her breath caught. "The crash." He nodded once. "I was in the car behind you. We were on our way to the same place, a meeting he had insisted on attending, even though the weather was getting worse. I tried to call him to turn back, but..." His voice faltered. "By the time I reached the curve, it was too late." Amelia looked away, gripping the edge of the bed. The room felt smaller, the air too thick. "Why are you here?" she asked finally. He reached into his coat pocket and pulled out a small, sealed envelope. "Ethan left this with me a few days before the accident. He said if anything ever happened, I should give it to you." Her heart stopped. She stared at the envelope as if it might vanish. "Why didn't you come sooner?" "I didn't know how," he said simply. "I thought you'd hate me. Or maybe you wouldn't want to see anyone connected to that night." He was right. For months, she wouldn't have. But now, something in her, that faint ember of curiosity, pushed her to take it. Her fingers trembled as she broke the seal. Inside was a letter written in Ethan's uneven handwriting. The sight of it made her chest tighten painfully. "Amelia, if you're reading this, it means I didn't make it home. I can't imagine how much it hurts, but I need you to remember one thing. It wasn't your fault. I made my choices that night. You made me happier than I ever thought I could be. Don't let this be the end of your story too. Promise me you'll keep living, for both of us." Her tears fell silently onto the paper, blurring the ink. The words sank into her like sunlight through fog. Warm, unbearable, real. Liam stood quietly nearby, his gaze fixed on the floor. When she finally looked up, he said, "He talked about you all the time. Said you were the reason he believed in second chances." Amelia laughed softly, bitterly. He was always too good at seeing the best in people. Liam smiled, just a ghost of it. Maybe that's something he passed on to you. That night, long after Liam had gone, Amelia sat by the window again. The rain had stopped, leaving the city below glowing under the streetlights. She traced Ethan's name on the glass, whispering it into the quiet. Maybe, she thought, healing didn't come all at once. Maybe it came in fragments. A letter, a stranger's kindness. A memory that stopped hurting as much as it used to, for the first time in a long while. She didn't feel completely alone. She didn't know it yet. But meeting Liam would be the beginning of everything that followed. A story of grief and forgiveness. Of two broken souls trying to rebuild something from the ashes of what they'd lost. And though she couldn't see it now, the silence between heartbeats was already beginning to change, slowly, almost imperceptibly, into the rhythm of something new. Weeks passed before Amelia saw Liam again. He had left her his number on a folded scrap of paper, written in clean, deliberate handwriting. She stared at it for days before finally deciding to call. Not because she wanted answers, but because she couldn't stop thinking about the way he had said Ethan's name. Softly, as if it still meant something sacred, they met at a small cafe near the edge of the city. It was the kind of place that smelled like fresh bread and old stories, the air thick with the sound of quiet conversations and clinking cups. When she walked in, Liam was already there, sitting by the window, a half-drunk cup of coffee in front of him. He stood when he saw her, nervous in a way that made him seem younger. "I wasn't sure you'd come." Amelia shrugged, taking the seat across from him. "Neither was I." For a while, they sat in silence, the hum of the cafe filling the space between them. Then, finally, she asked, "You said you worked with Ethan. What did you do?" Liam hesitated. "We were part of a small nonprofit. Ethan was leading a project, helping rebuild housing for flood victims near the coast. He was passionate about it. Too much, maybe." She looked up, surprised. "He never told me that." A flicker of guilt crossed Liam's eyes. "He wanted to, but he said he didn't want you to worry. The company funding part of the project was complicated. He didn't trust them completely." Amelia frowned. "Complicated how?" Liam looked down at his cup. "Let's just say they cared more about publicity than people. Ethan and I were trying to expose some of their shady practices, how they were cutting corners on safety regulations. That's what the meeting was about that night. He said he had proof. He was going to confront them." Her heart stuttered. "You think that's why the accident happened?" He didn't answer at first. His silence said enough. She leaned back, feeling the weight of the world tilt again. "He never told me any of this. I thought we shared everything." "He was protecting you," Liam said quietly. "He always was." Something broke open inside her then. Not pain this time, but something sharper, cleaner. She had spent months hating herself for what happened, for surviving. But if Ethan had been fighting for something, if he had died trying to do the right thing, then maybe his story wasn't just about tragedy. And maybe neither was hers. After that day, Liam and Amelia met often. Sometimes they talked about Ethan. Other times, they didn't talk at all. They walked by the river, sat on park benches watching people rush by, went to the same cafe where they'd first met. Slowly, the silence between them began to feel less like a wall and more like a shared language. Liam had a quiet steadiness about him, the kind of presence that didn't demand attention but made the world feel less fragile. He listened when she spoke, never offering empty comfort, never pretending to understand more than he did. One evening, as the sun sank low behind the skyline, Amelia found herself saying something she hadn't said aloud before. "I keep thinking I'll wake up and he'll still be here. That this is all just some long, cruel dream." Liam didn't look away. Maybe that's what grief is, waking up every day hoping it'll hurt less, and realizing it doesn't, but you still keep getting up anyway. She studied his face, the faint lines near his eyes, the way his jaw tightened when he was trying not to say something. "You talk like someone who's lost, too." He smiled faintly. "Yeah, my sister. 2 years ago." "I'm sorry," she whispered. "Don't be," he said softly. "That's what connects us, isn't it? The people we've lost. The things they leave behind." Something in the way he said it. Not sad. Not bitter. just honest, made her chest ache in a different way later. When she got home, Amelia found herself standing before a box of Ethan's things she hadn't opened since the funeral. Photos, concert tickets, postcards from places they'd never gone together. At the bottom was a small black USB drive labeled Project Haven. Her pulse quickened. Ethan's project. The next morning, she called Liam. "I found something," she said. "You should see it." They met at her apartment, sitting side by side on the floor as the laptop screen flickered to life. Files opened, reports, photos, emails, all showing evidence of what Ethan had been investigating. Illegal cost-cutting, falsified safety certificates, entire neighborhoods left at risk of collapse. Liam exhaled sharply. He was right. Amelia's throat tightened, and he died before he could prove it. They looked at each other, the same realization dawning on both. This wasn't over. Over the next week, they worked together, piecing through every document, every message Ethan had left behind. What had started as grief began to shift into purpose. Night, they'd stay up late. Papers scattered across her living room floor, coffee cups piling up, exhaustion mixing with something electric, a quiet determination that neither of them had felt in months. Sometimes their hands brushed as they reached for the same page. Neither said anything. They didn't have to. It wasn't romance. Not yet. It was something quieter, more fragile. Two souls learning how to breathe again. But the deeper they dug, the darker the story became. The company Ethan had worked against, Solver Corp, wasn't just corrupt. It was dangerous. One evening, as Liam was leaving her building, he noticed a black car parked across the street. The same one had been there the night before. And the one before that. When he came upstairs again, his expression was tight. "Amelia, I think someone's been watching you." She froze. "What?" He nodded. "We need to be careful. Whatever Ethan was uncovering, it's not something they want out." The next few days passed in a blur of tension and fear. Phone calls with no voice on the other end. A letter slipped under her door that simply read, "Stop digging." Amelia wanted to quit. For the first time, she was scared not of loss, but of what might still be taken from her. Liam, though, refused to back down. "Ethan didn't die for nothing," he told her. "If we stop now, they win." Something in his conviction reignited her courage. Together, they decided to finish what Ethan had started, to release the files publicly, to tell the world what had really happened. But as they planned, Liam grew distant. There were moments she'd catch him staring off into space, a look of guilt crossing his features. Once, she asked him what was wrong. He hesitated. "Amelia, there's something I haven't told you." Her stomach dropped. "What is it?" He looked away. "That night, the night of the crash, I wasn't just following you. I was working for Solver Corp. They sent me to monitor Ethan, to make sure he didn't do anything that would damage the company's image." She went still. "You what?" "I didn't know what they were planning," he said quickly. "I swear, I thought it was just a warning. But when I saw the crash, when I realized what had happened, I quit. I tried to find you, to make it right. I've been trying ever since." Her mind reeled. The air seemed to vanish. "You lied to me." "Yes," he said, voice breaking. "But I'm not that person anymore. Please believe me. Everything I've done since then was to help you, to honor him." She turned away, tears burning her eyes. The betrayal cut deeper than she expected. The one person she had begun to trust again, the one who had helped her heal, was tied to the very thing that destroyed her life. When he reached for her hand, she pulled away. "Leave. Amelia, please go." He hesitated for a long, painful moment, then did as she asked. The apartment door closed behind him, leaving only the sound of rain against the windows. For the first time since the accident, Amelia felt truly alone again. But beneath the pain, a different fire began to burn, one that would soon change everything, because now she knew the truth. And she wasn't going to let Ethan's death, or Liam's betrayal, be in vain. Amelia didn't sleep that night. She sat on the floor surrounded by the scattered evidence of Ethan's last months, the USB drive, the papers, his handwriting in the margins of documents. Little notes like, "Double-check this," or "Don't let them silence us." Each mark of his pen felt like a whisper from the grave, urging her forward. Outside, the storm had finally broken. Rain hammered against the windows as if the sky itself was angry, angry at her silence, angry at everything that had been stolen. She thought about Liam. Every word, every look, Every small moment that had made her believe in second chances. And now, all of it was tangled up with the truth. He had been part of the machine that killed the man she loved. But as much as she wanted to hate him, part of her couldn't. Because he had chosen to walk away. Because he had helped her uncover the truth. Because grief, she realized, was never clean, it was messy, contradictory, human. When dawn came, Amelia packed her things into a worn leather bag, the same one she'd taken on her last trip with Ethan. Inside went the USB drive, the printed reports, her laptop, and a single photograph. Ethan laughing under a downpour, his shirt soaked through, his eyes bright and alive. "I'll finish this," she whispered. "For both of us." Then she left. The next few days blurred together in a haze of purpose. Amelia contacted journalists, human rights advocates, anyone who might listen. Most didn't call back. A few hung up after hearing Solver Corp's name. But one woman, a seasoned investigative reporter named Julia Quinn, did. "I've heard whispers about Solver Corp for years," Julia said during their first meeting. "No one's been able to prove anything. If what you're saying is true, if you have real evidence, this could change everything." "I do," Amelia said firmly. Sliding the USB across the table, Julia plugged it in, eyes scanning the screen as files opened. The same reports Amelia and Liam had pored over for weeks. "This is solid," she said after a long silence. "Dangerous, but solid. We'll need to verify sources, trace the documents back. Are you ready for what comes next?" Amelia nodded. "I've been ready for a long time." Julia gave a small, approving smile. "Then let's bring them down." The following weeks were a blur of interviews, meetings, and late-night calls. Julia's team began piecing together a story that stretched across continents, from construction sites to government offices, from fake charity fronts to bribes that reached city officials. Every revelation made Amelia's chest tighten with both anger and grim satisfaction. Ethan's fight hadn't been futile. He had seen what others refused to. Still, the weight of it all pressed on her shoulders. There were threats, emails from anonymous senders, strange figures following her after dark. A rock thrown through her window one night with a note that read, "You should have stayed silent. The police were no help." Solver Corp's influence was too deep, too quiet. And then, one night, Liam came back. He knocked softly, just once. Amelia almost didn't answer. But something, maybe exhaustion, maybe curiosity, made her open the door. He stood there in the hallway, soaked from the rain, looking older, worn down. There was no arrogance left in his posture, no defense in his eyes. "I know I don't deserve to be here," he began. "But please, hear me out." She said nothing, just crossed her arms, waiting. "I've been trying to fix what I broke," he continued. "After I left, I went through my old contacts at Solver Corp. I found files, ones they never meant to see daylight. Internal memos, transfer records. They proved they paid off city inspectors after the flood. Ethan wasn't just right. He was closer than any of us realized." He reached into his coat and pulled out another flash drive. "This is everything. You can give it to Julia." Amelia stared at it, uncertain whether to trust him. "Why are you doing this?" "Because he believed in something better," Liam said softly. "And for the first time, I want to be the kind of person he believed people could be." For a long moment, neither spoke. The air between them hummed with all the words they would never say. Then, finally, she reached out and took the drive. "Thank you," she said quietly. "But this doesn't change what you did." "I know," he said, "but maybe it changes what happens next." With the new evidence, Julia's article exploded across every major media outlet within days. Corporate giant Solver Corp linked to deadly cover-up. Evidence reveals safety fraud, leading to deaths. The story spread like wildfire. Officials resigned. Arrests were made. Investors fled. Amelia watched the chaos unfold from her small apartment, the same one that had once felt like a tomb. Now, it felt like something else entirely, like closure. When the call came from Julia the following week, Amelia almost didn't pick up. "They're reopening Ethan's case," Julia said. "They think the accident wasn't an accident after all." Amelia closed her eyes, a long, trembling breath escaping her. "Thank you," she whispered. After the call ended, she sat in silence for a long time. The truth was out. Justice, or something like it, was finally being served. But as relief settled over her, she felt another emotion rising beneath it: emptiness. because the world was moving on, and Ethan was still gone. A few days later, she met Liam at the old Riverside Cafe. The one where they had first talked about Ethan. He was waiting outside, leaning against the railing, watching the water move in slow, heavy ripples. When he saw her, he smiled faintly. "I read the article," he said. "You did it." "We did it," she corrected. He shook his head. "No, you're the one who had the courage. I just followed." She studied him for a moment, the regret still lingering in his eyes, but softer now, tempered by something like peace. "What will you do now?" "I'm leaving the city," he said, "starting over somewhere new. Maybe try to build something that matters." She nodded slowly. That sounds like something Ethan would have wanted. A silence settled between them, not heavy this time, but calm. The kind that comes after a long storm. "I never told you this," Liam said, glancing toward the water. "But Ethan talked about you all the time. Said you made him believe in goodness again, even when everything around him was falling apart." Her throat tightened. "He said that?" "Yeah," Liam said, smiling softly. "He was proud of you. He loved you more than anything." Tears welled in her eyes, but this time they didn't hurt. They felt cleansing. "Thank you," she whispered. When he left, she didn't stop him. There was nothing left to say. Some stories didn't end with forgiveness, just understanding. And that was enough. Months passed. Spring came again, and with it, light. Amelia had moved to a smaller town by the sea, working with Julia's organization on environmental reform, the same cause Ethan had once fought for. Her days were full, her nights peaceful. Sometimes, when the wind blew through the open window, she could almost hear Ethan's voice, soft and laughing. On the anniversary of his death, she returned to the place where it happened. The crash site was unrecognizable now, the road repaved, the trees grown taller. She laid a single white rose on the ground and stood there for a long while, listening to the quiet hum of life continuing around her. "I did it," she whispered. "You can rest now." And maybe, in some unseen way, he heard her. As she turned to leave, her phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. "Keep going." He'd be proud. No name, no signature. But she smiled anyway. She didn't need to ask who it was. That night, Amelia sat on the porch, watching the stars shimmer over the dark sea. For the first time in years, she didn't feel haunted by ghosts. She felt accompanied by them, not as burdens, but as reminders of how deeply she had loved, how fiercely she had survived. Grief had once been a cage. Now, it was a constellation, something vast, endless, and quietly beautiful. She closed her eyes, breathed in the salt air, and whispered into the wind, "Thank you," for every heartbeat that came after. And for the first time, the silence answered back, not with sorrow, but with peace.